I'm coming to you to tell you about a dream that God has given me. I have tried to make this video 3 times, so I know that Satan does not want me to release this to you guys. So this is my 4th time trying to get this video out about the dream. Let me get straight into the dream. Excuse me. Me and my sister, we were at a school, and it was weird because it was as if school was getting out. And the weird thing about this school is that you know where the bus barn is and the buses are loading and unloading. Parents of all ages, all races, it was just a lot of people at this school. And we were just waiting on our kids to get out. And for some reason in this particular day, everybody was just talking, and it almost seemed like it was chaos because it was so much going on. But for some strange reason, my attention was drawn to the sky. And I just kept looking at the sky, and I was just like, something is weird with the sky. And I don't know. I don't normally just walk outside and just look into the sky and say, hey, what's going on with the sky? But in my dream, I was almost infatuated with the sky. And it looked ominous, almost like something's going on, but what is it? So myself and my sister were standing there waiting for our children to get out. And what's weird is my daughters were standing with me. But my son, he wasn't, in the dream at that moment. But they were standing outside with me, and I don't know why they were on the outside of school while we were waiting for kids to get out of school. But they were already out. And so I'm talking to my sister, and I was like, hey, Dee, my sister's name is Dee. And I was like, something's going on with the sky. What's going on? And she just was kind of like, I'm not going to say ignoring me, but her attention was drawn elsewhere. And so as I'm telling her, hey, look in the sky, she's talking about what she's talking about. So I just walk off, and I left my kids, I left her, and, now my back is towards them, and I'm just walking off. And as I began to walk off, my attention was still drawn into the sky. So I just kept looking up. And right when I got to a certain point, the windows of heaven were open. It was as if the Lord had placed a tunnel from heaven all the way to earth. And I could see from where I was standing all the way up to heaven. If I get emotional, just bear with me. I could see all the way up to heaven, and it was clear as day. It was clearer than my hand in front of my face. I could see the Lord sitting on a white horse, and he had long dark hair. He was olive colored complexion. He was draped he had on a white robe. He had a red sash going around from his right shoulder, draping down to his left side. And like I said, it was red, and he had a crown on his head. And he was sitting on this horse, and he was riding the horse back and forth. And I could never see his full face to face, but I could see the side of his face, and for some reason, I knew he had a stern emotion. He had a stern face. He never turned to look at me. But he was just sitting there, and he was waiting. And, every now and then he would just ride, forward and then, come back. And all around him were angels with wings. They were just flying. And it was as if I had a telescope, and I could just see everything beautifully clear. I mean, it was bright lights. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And I could hear the angels. Now, mind you, I'm standing on the ground. I mean, I know God had to have given me spiritual sight and hearing because it was so far away. But I could hear the angels saying, get ready, it's almost time. Are you guys ready? Let's get ready, it's almost time. And something stirred on the inside of me. And I knew immediately that it was almost time for the rapture. I knew immediately. And like I said, these angels were just flying. I mean, flying and it was hundreds of them, thousands maybe. I can't number them, but for some reason, I knew it was as if I had knowing of what was going on. I knew the number of, it's just weird that I knew that, you know. So when I saw that, I booked it back to where my sister was and my children. And I'm yelling at my sister, and I was like, D, like, we got to get ready. I was like, Jesus is coming. And I'm yelling it to the top of my lungs. I didn't care who was there. I was like, Jesus is coming. He is coming. We have to go. We have to get ready. And I was like, we have to tell everybody. We have to tell everybody. And I was meaning, when I was saying that, I was meaning all of our family members. I was like, we have to tell them now. And so my sister, she started saying, I have to go get the baby. I have to go get the baby. And so I was like, don't worry about the baby. Like, the baby is going to be fine. The baby is going to be caught up. We don't need to go and get the baby. I wasn't even worried about my kids. And anybody who knows me, I'm a mom first. Right under being saved, I am a mother. Like, that takes precedence over everything in my life. And I wasn't worried about my kids. I was not worried about them because I knew that my kids were saved. I was on a mission. And as me and my sister, as I'm pleading with her, like, listen, we have to go tell our family that Jesus is coming. My brother popped up in my head. Now, 2 years ago, right before the storm, my oldest brother passed away. So I only have one brother left. And so, immediately I had this strong urgency that I needed to get to my brother, and I needed to tell him that Jesus was coming because of what God had just shown me. Like, I physically saw Jesus and these angels waiting, and I knew that Jesus was just waiting on the word from the Father, and I knew he was coming, and I knew that it was right there. Like, he literally stands at the door, and it was literally right then in that second I knew. So I told my sister, I was like, listen, don't worry about the baby. Just go tell everybody else. And when I say everybody else, meaning those who weren't ready, anybody who didn't know that Jesus was coming, anybody who didn't believe in Jesus, like, go tell them, I'll get the baby. And she was like, okay. So she left. I left my kids at this school because at that moment, all I could think about was my brother. And I was like, I have to get to my brother. I have to let him know that Jesus is coming. So I jumped in this car. I kept trying to call him, and my phone was not working. For some strange reason, I could not reach him on my cell phone. So I jumped in the car, and I was actually going to go get the baby. I don't know what baby, but I was going to go get the baby. But when I got in the car, all of that left me, and I was like, I have to get to my brother. And so I'm trying to call him, and he's not answering. And so at some point, the sky turned black. It was just dark. Because while we were at the school, of course, it was daytime. School was getting out. And now that I'm headed to go find my brother, it's pitch dark. And I keep calling. And finally, I reach him. And I'm speeding. I know I'm doing over 100 miles per hour. I'm speeding, trying to find him. The only light that I could see were my headlights. There was no moon in the sky. There were no stars in the sky. The only light that I could see was the light from, the road in front of me. But it was so dark that, like, you couldn't see anything beyond that light, So, as my brother answered the phone, he was like, hey, my brother calls me E. It's the weirdest thing. But he was like, hey, E, what's going on? And he's talking and he's laughing. And before I could answer, before I could even say, hey, I started seeing what I thought were shooting stars. And they weren't going from the sky down. They were going from the ground to the sky. Beautiful. It was so beautiful that it completely took my attention away from the phone. And so I kind of leaned to look out my window to see what was going on. I mean, I was in such amazement. And before I could say anything, I shot up. I could look down. I saw in my physical body, the phone fell to the floor of the vehicle, and my spirit was going. I shot up, and I mean, I was traveling at a speed that I can't even imagine. I knew within my subconscious that it was faster than light, that it was faster than sound. I was going, but I could still, for a split second, see, feel, I should say, feel everything that was going on physically. And I could still hear my brother, talking. And for a split second, I got so sad because I knew my brother didn't make it. Like, I knew he had been left behind. And bear with me because this part gets to me. It really, really, it gets to me. But I knew he hadn't made it, and he was still laughing and talking. And I knew that he didn't even know that I was no longer there. I literally watched like my body go limp. My physical body. This is just a shell. This is either you're going to die or you're going to be raptured up. But this physical body is just a shell. It completely went limp, and there was bright white, like piercing white light that was shining through the sockets of my eyes, but my eyes were no longer, like, you couldn't even see the eyes, the pupils or anything. It was just piercing white light that was shining through my eyes. And within that split second, all emotion that I felt for my brother left me. It left me. I felt no sorrow, no pain, nothing. And it was as if I could see like the transitioning of my spirit. I could see like my hands shaking and everything. It was just the weirdest thing. And then I don't know if you guys have ever experienced a false awakening in a dream. I woke up out of that, but I was still physically asleep. And so I'm still in the dream. And so I called my brother and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, nothing. I'm just watching TV. What's going on? How you doing?" So I was like, "Listen, cut to the chase." I was like, "You have to get to my house now." And he was like, "What's going on?" He was like, "You scared me. What's going on?" And I was like, "I have to tell you what God has shown me. Like, you have to get here now." And so he hightailed it to my house. And when he got to my house, me and my youngest daughter, we were in our living room, and I was putting away groceries, and he came in, and I told him, I said, "Listen, I would never tell you anything false. You know that I would never lead you astray." And I was like, "Do you know me to be a woman of God?" And he was like, "Yeah, just spit it out. You're scaring me." So I told him what happened in the dream, which it physically did happen, in real life. I was dreaming that. And so I started telling him, and he just began to bawl. He was just crying. And then I woke up. You guys, this dream terrified me. I rejoiced in it. I just had so many emotions. I woke up right at 4:08 a.m. From having that dream. And it's weird because right before I went to bed, I was reading the book of Daniel. And the Holy Spirit told me to read Daniel chapter 9, but I started at Daniel chapter 1 and read up until 9. But I ended up falling asleep, and I felt so convicted because I didn't even get to pray. And I tried to never go to sleep without praying. But I fell asleep, and I had this dream. And when I woke up, I cried, I prayed, I worshiped God, cried, prayed, worshiped God, repeat. I did it from 4:08 until almost like 7:30 because I was so shocked that God actually gave me a rapture dream. I could not believe it. This dream was the most vivid thing I've ever experienced in all of my life. It's more vivid than me talking to you guys right now. God is real. He is so real. Jesus is real. I've seen it. I've seen him, the angels, they're real. Like, this is real. This is real life. So let me give you, I got a part 2. I'm trying to hurry it up because I know some people don't like looking at long videos. But I have to give you a part 2. When I woke up out of that dream, like I told you guys, I was crying, I was praying, I was worshiping. I asked God, "God, what do you want me to do with this? Like, what? Whoa, you just blew my mind. What do I do? Do you want me to tell people? Is this just for me? What do I do?" So, like I said, I was up from like 4:08 to like 7:30ish. And I was exhausted. When you spend time with the Lord, sometimes you just physically exert yourself. So I ended up falling back asleep and I immediately started dreaming again. Immediately. This has never happened to me. God is my witness. Immediately started dreaming again. And when I went into this dream, it was like the holiday season. I don't know if it was Thanksgiving or if it was Christmas, but all I know is that myself, as well as my whole family, on both sides of my family, which is weird, we were all in one house, and which was the house that I grew up in. And it was like I said, it was a holiday time. We had an itinerary. Some people were planning what activities they wanted to do later that evening. Some people, we were planning dinner. We just had this whole itinerary going on. And it was kids all over. It was my mom and, her siblings, and on my dad's side, different people. It was just crazy that, these two families were just all in one area. But it didn't seem odd. It seemed right. So long story short, that happened. We were getting ready to go and have a good time and hang out and everything. And I needed something out of my car. So I walked outside of the house and I went to my car. And as I was walking back, I heard God loud as day. Get ready for it, guys. I heard God say loud as day, tell them about your dream. Mind blowing, right? God said it loud as day. Tell them about your dream. And in my dream, I'm like, God, really? And yes, tell them about your dream. And immediately, fear came over me. Now, mind you guys, I just said earlier that I asked for the dream. I was just like super Christian, like, God, if you give me this dream, I'm going to tell the world, I'm going to tell the people. I had this dream back September 10th, and I'm just now telling, you guys, because what I felt in my dream, that fear, I felt it in real life. I, was worried about people are going to think I am crazy. I'm going to be, and not that I have ever cared about what people's opinion of me is, but I know it was nothing but Satan actually planting that fear in me. But I was like, really, God? And so I walked back in the house and I was like, hey, you guys, I was like, I have to tell you what God told me to tell you. I have to share something with you guys. And so a lot of my family had left already. And so I told them, I said, well, when we come back home for dinner tonight, I'll let everyone know at one time. And so they were like, oh, okay. We're looking forward to it. Well, more and more people started showing up at my house. And I'm not just talking about one or two people. Like, they started pouring in. More people. They just started coming in. And so by then I'm really, really afraid. And I'm just like, God, how am I going to tell all of these people about the dream? What do I do? How do I tell them? And the Lord visually showed me a bullhorn, like you use at like a football game or something. It was red and white. And I could see, it was almost like one of those cloud bubbles that you see in the cartoons or whatever. But I could physically see this cloud bubble with this bullhorn in it. And it was if, like, when I looked at it, I could physically get it out of this bubble. And so it appeared in my hand. And when it appeared in my hand, it sounded off. It was like, bah! It was so super loud. It was loud to the point to where I woke up. The bullhorn sound is what woke me up. And when I woke up, I was just like, whoa. So that was dream 2 within the same morning, that I had this dream. You guys, mind blowing. I feel more at ease now that I'm actually putting the dream out there.